Cool. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Beauj Box 2025 tasting number four, right? Yeah, tasting number four. And the first live tasting of Beauj Box 2025. We're tasting this guy. This little label. 2022 Laurent Perrachon Roche Blue Julienas is what we're tasting today. It's going to be a bit of a departure from the kind of style that we've been in last few weeks, which is fun, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, this is a way less carbonic. There is some carbonic in there, but it's way less carbonic than, like, for example, Santamor that we tasted last week, which was a full carbonic. So you can kind of see that difference side by side, which is kind of fun. But anyways, let's start with a map. Let's give me 1 second here. There you go. There it is. Here's a map of France. It should look pretty familiar at this point. You should be able to point out where Beaujolais is, which is right here. This little light pink area. So Paris is up here, right? So southeast of Paris, southern tip of Burgundy, right by Lyon is where Beaujolais is. It's a tiny little area. We've mentioned this before, but this is about 7 to 10 miles wide. It's about 45 miles, maybe 40 miles. So it's about essentially the length of the distance between here and Baltimore, except much narrower. So it's a very small area, but it's got 10 crews and different other Beaujolais, like Beaujolais Lantigny that we featured in the very first week. So fun area, and that's why we've been kind of exploring it every week or every year. It's one of my favorite areas of winemaking regions of all time. Here we are. If you look more closely, this is kind of how it's divided. So we tasted Santamor. First week we did Beaujolais Lantigny, which is a little sub-appellation just outside of a Ranier. So just this green part right here is where it is. In the Beaujolais Village, this dark purple area. And then the second week we did Côte de Bourguignon, which is actually a hybrid of Beaujolais and Burgundy. So you got some blend of a half Pinot Noir, which is the noble grape of Burgundy, right? And then the Gamay, which is a major grape of Beaujolais. So blend, half and half blend. That's what Côte de Bourgogne the second week was. And then last week we did Santamor. This week we're doing Julienas, which is a dark green area right up here, right next to Santamor. If you look a little more closely, oh, by the way, this is a town of Julienas. So very small. This is in the middle of autumn. Beautiful time to go visit this area. Obviously, it will be in the middle of harvest, so probably very busy. If you're trying to visit actual vineyards, they'll be quite busy. But it's nonetheless, it is a beautiful time to visit, as you can see all the colors that pop up. But it's a small town, and this is a whole area in Beaujolais. Just kind of every town kind of looks like this. So it's a beautiful area to travel to. If you ever get a chance to get out there, I highly recommend that you go check it out because it's awesome. And just like almost every other French village, there's always a church in the middle of it. So if you look more closely, you all have an access to this. This is a Beaujolais soil map. So this red is the granite. We've talked a lot about granite so far. That's essentially what makes Beaujolais a very special place for Gamay, because Gamay, after it got kicked out of Burgundy, which is more limestone and clay, they found out that Gamay does really well in granite, which is what this red is. So as you can see how much granite is present in all of Beaujolais. But if you look a little more closely, this is where Julienas, and you don't see a whole lot of red. I mean, you see the little specklings of it here and there, but you see many different colors, many different patterns. So just like Santamor, Julienas is definitely one of the most diverse crews in terms of different soil types that exist. But really, when we're talking about Julienas, and by the way, if we look a little bit more closer, and this will all be in the Google Drive folder, that I'll upload all this in there as well. Yeah, I found a website that had a much closer kind of a breakdown of each cruise by soil type, and it also outlays or overlays different ludi, which is these are little smaller vineyards essentially on top of it. So if you ever wanted to really geek out and then see, for example, like the difference between, you know, some vineyard up here, this little red part, versus like truly green vineyards down here, you could do that now. You could go out there and try to look for a producer who makes wine in that little village or in that little ludi, and then try to do that. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much all green, and this green is essentially what they call bluestone, which is a volcanic schist. And if you look at the front label of this wine, it says under Julienas, it says Roche Blue, that literally means bluestone. There, it's just an ode and just another sign of putting it out there that Juliana is known for their bluestone, and this wine is made on bluestone. And it just definitely does give that volcanic soil kind of a thing, and we'll talk more about that when we get to tasting it. But yeah. And before we get to the producers, let's talk a little bit about Julianas. So it's kind of a sleeper. People don't pay much attention to Julianas.
Sorry, do you need to let people in? Because Sarah and Andrew are trying to get in. They said,
Oh, yes. Yes. I just saw that pop up.
there we go. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to
Thank you.
steal your
No,
vibe.
no, thank you. Sorry. I must have changed the setting to manually let people in. Sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to hold you up there. Um, yeah, so Juliana is kind of a sleeper crew. Not many people pay attention to Juliana's. You don't also see it all that often. But it's I'd say don't sleep on it because you can see it's very different in terms of soil type from the rest. So it's very unique. The straight trade structure is kind of like Santamor, where a lot of negociants, big kind of commercial wineries, kind of run the game. But you got to kind of do your homework, just like Santamor. You gotta find out which producers are doing what. They're doing, the farming correctly and vinifying correctly, all of that. But when you do find the right producer in the right place, Julianas can be incredible. They're actually can age quite a bit, as well as it gives this really like dark, almost smoky kind of a nature to it, just because of that bluestone, the volcanic schist. But the name that Julianas goes back to Roman era, just like everywhere else. The vines here were planted by the Romans when they came here, and the at least it's believed, or at least there's a recording of it, that a record of it, that the wines from this region was actually made for Julius Caesar. That's the name Julianas, and that's how I got their name. What makes Julianas unique, as I mentioned, is the bluestone. It's kind of a volcanic schist. The bluestone, it means it's a volcanic schist. So there's a lot of volcanic soil that kind of runs through different parts of it, even within different crews, like Côte de Pie within Morgon, Côte de Bruy, which are these kind of volcanic mountains that erupted. So there's pockets of volcanic soils everywhere, but really concentrated in different parts of it. But Juliana is one of the crews where the volcanic soil itself kind of defines the entire crew. But it's not just a pure like volcanic sand or degraded volcanic soil. It's actually a schist, meaning so schist is I mean, if there's any geological experts out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but schist is a type of rock where there's a kind of thin layers of different rocks sandwiches on top of each other. And they flake off pretty easily. It's like if I used this analogy last year, but I think it's very apt, which is it's kind of like a rock croissant. It's a croissant of like different layers, but except most of it, a lot of it's volcanic layers in there. There's it's a little bit of granite in there as well, a little bit of sand, a little bit of clay, and all of that thrown in there as well. But a lot of it, what defines Julianas is that volcanic soil. Um, that the what it does is that because of that volcanic soil and the clay content in the soil, it retains heat really well. So it helps ripen the grapes, develop more flavor, concentration, all of that. There's also a decent amount of clay running through those layers as well as Julianas. So it also helps with water retention as well as heat retention, which also means a fruit development. Anytime you see clay, vines that are grown on clay, they tend to give up a lot of fruit just because it has a heat and water retention there as well. Um, But as a result of that kind of a heat retention, water retention, developing a lot of concentration, as well as the ripeness, the Juliana and the volcanic in the soil, the Julianas tend to be much fuller, much darker and riper quality than let's say its neighbor Santamor. If you remember Santamor from last week, it's defined by that kind of like really bright red fruit, high acid, that kind of a quality, as opposed to you go just down from Santamor to Julianas and it becomes riper, the fruit becomes darker, it has more structure, oftentimes more tannin. So yeah, that's the kind of things why it's fun to explore Beaujolais is that you can go from one cru to right next to each other, which are very close to each other. I mean, 5-10 minute drive from each other, yet you get two completely different wines made from the same grape variety, which is fun to do. Um, Anyways, like I said, don't sleep on Julienas. Find the right producer, find the right wine, and then it will age. And it's not necessarily the one is better than the other. It's really depends on your preference. If you like that darker style, darker fruit profile, by all means, Juliana is your thing. If you tend to like really red berry, poppy kind of a style, which is more of my style, then Santamor is probably better for you as well. But now you know. Uh, let's see. Hold on. Oh yeah, so there's not a whole lot of Julianas coming into the States, like I mentioned. But right now there's a bit of a kind of a revolution, generational shift that's happening for the longest time. And the same thing is happening with Santamor as well as smaller these kind of sub appellations like Beaujolais Lantini that we feature. Which is happening is that all these kind of grandchildren of like a gang of four generation. They're all becoming winemakers of their own, and they're going into these kind of lesser known or lesser valued crews like Santamor and Julianas over Morgon, Fleury, right, Côte de Bruy, and then finding these pockets of vineyards and then really making it the way and moving away from the co-op structure, really commercial wine, and making it the way that their grandchildren used to make. Grandfathers used to make. So there's a lot of that going on here. So there's definitely a lot of young producers that are moving into Julianas or seeking out a lot of different pockets of Julianas. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Definitely exciting place to keep your eyes on. So again, like I said, don't sleep on Julienas. I feel like most people don't even think of Julienas as a Beaujolais, but it's actually one of my favorites. But yeah, so go out there, seek out Julienas. Right. Let's see who makes this. I could not find a whole lot of information on the producers themselves, honestly. I even reached out to the importer, but they couldn't really get any articles or anything like that. But anyways, this is the family. This is a Perrachon family. I don't know who this kid is. I assume that it's one of their sons, but it's too young to, he looks very young, too young to work in the family business. But this is a family. This is Laurent and Martine. So Martine is a mom. Laurent is a dad. And then I don't know who this lady is. Maybe it's their daughter or who doesn't work in the family business or is a wife of one of the sons. But this is Maxime and this is Adrian. So this is a family. This is a Perrachon family. They have been making wine for a long time, at least the family, the Perrachon family. They uh, they uh, sorry, they've been making wine at their current estate where they make the wine in since 1877, and that alone is pretty long. But they're actually earliest traces of family making wine in Beaujolais dates back to 1601. So they've been making wine for a very, very long time. Martine and Laurent. Laurent represents the fifth generation, and Maxime and Adrian represent the sixth generation of winemaking. So these are people who've been making Beaujolais for some time. But outside of that, I mean, couldn't really learn more about their family history. I do know that they make 5 other crus as well as a regional Beaujolais and Beaujolais Village. They make wine besides Julienas. They make Moulin Avant, Morgon, Fleury, Chenas, and Santamor as well. But Julienas is not only their physical home base, but it's also the head of all of their operations. So this is really family that has really kind of dug into and figured out how to farm and make wine in Julienas. So I figure It's a good wine if you're going to talk about Julienas to feature. Uh, Here's some other pictures that I was able to get. This is their cellar. This is what it looks like. So this is all cement tank, very classic, very traditional in this place. And then there's a foudre in the back, which are these big ass barrels, neutral barrels. And then there's smaller barrels. And depending on, they make a bunch of different bottlings in Julienas. The one that we have is actually their entry point Julienas. But they have ones that they make from older vines. And the older the vine, the smaller barrel they use. But this one is essentially 100% hand harvested gamay grown on bluestone that I mentioned, that volcanic schist soil. They're HVE certified, by the way. It's organic plus. It's like organic, which is all about not using chemical substance in the field, but they also add there's more emphasis on sustainability and biodiversity and all of that. So they're HVE certified, and then it's 100% gamay. This is a 40-year-old vine. They have vines that are up to 100 years old, but I could not get enough. There was not enough of it in stock. I want to use their older vine stuff, but there was not enough stock in DC for their stuff. Julienas was actually one of the hardest crews to procure this year. For some reason, there's just no Julienas left in DC, and this was one of two, maybe three that I had an option from, and this was the best one. Here's for our interest. Oh, by the way, this is what their foudre looks like. Yeah, also another very classic vessel that they age wines in this part of the world. But so 25 to 60% of the gamay that comes in is destemmed, meaning they do not put it on carbonic. So only, which is a wide range, 25 to 60%. So I try to get them to confirm how much of this actually went through carbonic. But my rep said the last vintage was about 50%, so 50 destemmed and 50 carbonic, and he hasn't seen much style change from that to here, so he would guess about 50%, but we're not sure we don't know for sure. But anyway, so let's just assume that it's about 50% destem, which means less carbonic, and half of them goes up. Less carbonic means they just want more fruit quality, the actual just kind of it's more Burgundian style, essentially. They put it through pneumatic press, gentle pressing to minimize the phenolic extraction. And then it's vinified in concrete. Then it goes into foudre. These are those big ass barrels, neutral barrels that you guys saw. And then it's aged in there for 6 months, and then it's released. It's essentially what this wine is. So again, we have a chance to kind of taste the more full carbonic style, which was Centimore. And then now we have 50% carbonic. That was even semi-carbonic. It was even a full carbonic on the other hand here. And then we can talk about, we get to tasting it, talk about what the difference is. But immediately, just even on the nose, before we even get into the tasting of it, to me, there's way less of that like high tone fruit that we talk a lot about with the full carbonic wines, right? That like a candied, confectionery, poppy, almost artificial kind of fruit thing. There's way less of that, and there's some of that in here as well. But it's just, I mean, compared to Centimore last week, it's day and night. So that's always fun. All right, let's taste some wine. Who wants to take the appearance?
I haven't been here in a long time, Moon. I'm happy to do it.
All right, Mike. Good to see you, by the way.
Thanks.
There you go.
All right. This wine to me is clear.
Wine is clear, for sure.
Yep. Not hazy, not faulty.
Intensity?
I lost my grid. Where'd my grid go?
Oh, did you lose your grid? Sorry. I don't know what just happened.
But I'm getting a lot of color, though.
How about that? Did you get it?
Yeah, it's great. Yes. No, I think to me it's medium plus. It's I can't see through it very well except around the edges.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Yeah, it's somewhere like seems a little more than medium, but maybe not fully deep. Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere medium,
I
medium.
mean, I can't see through it. You know, it's
Yeah,
you know, and color. I'm just go with the usual garnet. I think it's.
you mean ruby?
Excuse me. Yes, ruby. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
It's not brown at all.
yeah,
No.
yeah. This is about like a definition of garnet. I mean, sorry, ruby. That's the way
You
you'll
too.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then any other observations?
Not really. Not on the looks. Yeah. Looks
Yeah,
great.
no sediment.
Nope.
Yeah, everything's pretty straightforward here. Still got it, Mike.
All
Welcome
right.
back.
Thank you.
You got to pick the next person for the nose.
Okay. I got next on my screen, Dave. How you doing, Dave? You up for it?
Sorry, I was on mute. Good to see you, Mike. Nose. I would say that is clean.
One is clean. This one is sound.
From an intensity perspective, I would say between medium and medium plus, but not definitive.
Agreed. Like I'm like here is where I start to get it. So like, what is that? Like one couple, like 1 inch. So yeah, like little more than medium, high end of medium, lower than medium plus, somewhere in there. It's kind of what I'm getting. Oh yeah, sorry. And then aromas of yeah.
I mean, this is black fruit to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you get any floral?
Gray, brambly again, maybe a little blueberry, blackberry for sure.
Yeah. Do you
I
get
mean,
any?
the nose isn't particularly strong, to be honest, but
Yeah, I mean the it's interesting. When I first poured it, I got a lot of it out, but right now I'm like, huh, it's kind of shy. Do you get any flowers here?
no.
I get a violet, but that's very typical. I always get violet with a with a
I mean,
gamay.
maybe at the end. I would call that a tertiary, though.
Okay, but for you, the fruit qualities here is mostly all black here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you could make an argument that there was some older red fruit on this for me,
yeah,
but black is good.
agreed. And I'm totally agree. And this is what I'm talking about with Julienas, is that fruit quality completely changes. I mean, again, this is why the first two are really fun to do to Santa Moore next to Julienas because it's just such different wines. Like, if you remember last week, it's just like Santa Moore was so red, so poppy, so bright. And then here we get like dark and more like brooding. And then it's like much more riper fruit as well. But yeah, totally. Rather than red fruit, this is all black fruit for me here. Like, yeah, even like black cherry, some of that bramble, maybe even touch of blueberry, like all the things that they call that for sure. Um, Nature of the fruit,
I would call it fresh.
yeah, I think it's pretty fresh, pretty ripe. And that's another thing. You're rarely gonna see unripe fruit from Julianas again because of all that rocks in the soil, heat retention, clay, and all of that. So the fruit is always going to be ripe, really concentrated on all that. Herbaceous, herbal.
I mean, if anything, I don't know, I haven't chewed on a blackcurrant leaf in a long time, but it would be something like that. And maybe a little tinge of it, but not a whole lot.
Okay, little leafy, little savory. Okay.
A little bit.
Any rocks?
No, I mean, surprising given where it's grown. No.
Yeah. See, I get rocks here. Like I get a ton of like black, almost like a touch of smoke here. It's not like super over the top. I've definitely we've had Julianas that are much more rockier and smokier than this. But yeah, for me, there's definitely like some rockiness running through here.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Secondary, tertiary.
Not a whole lot, to be
Yeah,
honest.
agreed. I say this is very much of a primary fruit driven, primary driven wine. Excellent. You get to pick the next person
All
for the
right.
palate.
Right below me is Dana. Do you want to do this?
Dana, Dana.
Sure. It's been a long time.
All right, palate.
And now, So I kind of get medium, more medium sweet than medium dry.
If you're gonna get called medium sweet, Dana, we're talking like dessert wine territory. You will know.
You
This
think?
is in the entire world of all the wines that are ever made. So like medium sweet would be in somewhere in probably like if I had to put up grams, it would probably be like 60 to 80 grams per
So
liter.
clearly my palate is off.
Yeah. No, it's just a calibration. Is that
Yeah,
is
no,
it-
no, no. And I haven't been drinking a lot of wine.
Yeah.
And actually, right before this, as I texted you, I did the Santa Moore. So I'm kind of maybe all off.
Yeah, but that way you can actually see that side by side. Like you remember
Yeah, yeah,
Santa Monica and
yeah.
this, like two completely different wines, you know?
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, this is what it's dry. There's no sugar on this. There's a lot of fruit, and that you may be thinking
Okay.
sweet, but there's actual amount of sugar on this thing. There's no sugar.
Yeah.
Acidity.
Medium.
Agree. It's not like super
Yeah.
high. I'll say about like medium. Yeah, I think medium is the right call on the acidity on this thing. Tannin?
Medium plus.
Not
No?
I won't go that far. So medium plus would be like we'd be sitting here going, "Mwah." Like you would know, like it would be grippy. There's definitely some tannin in here, but it's not that high. I'll call this about like lower in the medium, higher in the medium.
Really?
Like somewhere
I
in
don't
there.
know. I
Yeah.
just got it all over my mouth. So maybe that's why I was.
Yeah, I don't know if you joined us for the Georgia pops.
No. I wasn't here for Georgia. Yeah.
If you tasted any one of those four wines, you would know what I mean by medium.
Like literally, I have not been drinking much wine. So I'm kind of like, woohoo.
That's all right. We'll come back. Yeah, there's some tannin in here. And that's another thing about Julienas. Julienas, you will almost always get a little bit of structure just
Mhm.
because, again, all that, the grown on rockiness, the rocky volcanic
Right.
soil, and then all that clay and heat retention, all of that just gives a lot of
Yeah.
ripeness and a lot of like just structure to the wine. So there's always a higher level of tannin than some other groups. Alcohol.
I'm just gonna have to look at the bottle, but I would say maybe so. Given I'm off on everything, would this be like 12%
So yeah,
or so?
12.5 is about what I would call this.
Yeah.
Where does this say? 13%.
13.
So,
I was gonna say 12 and a half. Yeah, 13.
Yeah. This is like around the medium alcohol.
Mhm.
Body.
So
What percentage of milk do you get?
I'm seeing like medium to medium minus.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I get. Like lower end of medium, higher end of medium minus, like 1 to 2% is around what I get here.
Yeah.
Moose, we don't have to talk about
Yeah.
flavor intensity.
I'd say medium.
Yeah, I'll call this about medium as well.
Yeah.
Medium intense.
Okay, so yeah,
slow.
so where are we going down to?
Do you get everything that Dave called out? Is there something else that pops up?
So interestingly enough, okay, so definitely got the black fruit. And also from just recently drinking the Santa Moore, which was definitely those high notes and like I don't taste anything that was like the Santa Moore. So definitely black fruit. But I did, excuse me, think there was some like, oddly enough, like the pungent spice, but maybe I'm just like having a like weird night. I thought that there was some, but I definitely tasted stone, like the stone part.
Yeah. I mean, I think what Dave was saying about that, like he called it maybe some of these like tomato leaf or something green,
Yeah.
something savory
Yeah,
here.
there were like, yeah, it's like there is some sort of vegetableness of it,
Yeah.
like that's, but not like overpowering. Maybe
Yeah,
it's that
I
blackcurrant.
totally
leaf.
agree with that touch of the savory here. To me, yeah, exactly. All the things that they call it, the black fruit. Again, no red fruit on this thing. There's the black fruit, touch of violet, touch of that kind of leafy green savory, and then again,
But I
rocks.
don't get the dried, like the fig or prune or
No.
any of that at
Yeah.
all.
Really fresh, really ripe,
Yeah. Yeah.
fruit wise. And again, and also in both last week in Santa Moore, as well as the first week with the Beaujolais Lantini,
Yeah.
which were both put on carbonic, one was semi-carbonic, Santa Moore's full carbonic. It is there's even the fruit has a different character, right? Like what you were saying about fresh fruit on top of the high tone. But to me, this is like all just like the fresh ripe fruit. Like there's no other different character of fruit, if it's so to say.
And we were even talking about in the last, because it's so fresh on my mind. Is it the what do you call it? The V2 or the like that you know, that acetone smell, or like you were calling it
volatile acidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't get any of that here.
Yeah. There's none of it here.
Any of it.
Yeah, this is much more stable. There's definitely some sulfites used here. Santa Moore's also 0.0. There's no sulfites on there. So there's a little elevated little bit of VA on there as well. But yeah, no VA, much lower level of VA, much more stable, much more quote unquote clean. But yeah, just more of a fruit. This is actually like a maceration fruit. Like to me, there's like not much touch. I'm willing to bet there's even less than 50% carbonic here. I feel like I'll get much more of the popular fruit that if I were to if there was more carbonic on here. But the fact that to me this drinks like much more like a Burgundian style, just like any other style of red wine, it's like a maceration. It hints at me that there's a much less. I'll see if I can confirm how much carbonic was done on this thing or how much was destemmed. But yeah, right now that's what it said. But one thing I do get on the palate that obviously we didn't get on the nose because you can't is there's a touch of a phenolic bitterness at the end. It's not a lot, but if you guys sit with it, there's a little bit of bitterness at the end. And that's that. Also, I get a ton of just rocks at the end. Like it starts with the fruit, but it's like to me, it's just rocks and rock. But the touch of that bitterness comes from tannin. Anytime there's an elevated tannin, you're gonna get a little bit of that phenolics. But yeah, so I do get a little bit of that here as well. Sorry, you were gonna say something before.
No. We were just. I was just
anything
going
else?
back up to the top to see what else we missed or didn't talk about.
Any secondary, any tertiary?
No. Let's see. Where were your secondary? I mean, but again, my taste seems to be really off, but potentially some secondary. But like in the oak.
Yeah, you're getting some of these like spices, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't get a whole lot of it. I mean, also
not a ton, but I just feel like I'm not like it's not off the table.
Yeah, there's some sort of a savoriness here, which I would completely agree. To me, it strikes me more here in that kind of like leafy green, just touch of it.
Yeah, like toast or something, or like like you said, the smokiness.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the rock, like volcanic rocks. Any wines that are grown on volcanic rock has this. It expresses itself as like a smoky to me. Maybe it's not smoky is not the best word, perhaps, but to me, there's certain like a dark kind of like black rock thing going on whenever it's in volcanic, and I get that here for sure. Okay, maybe power suggestion, just knowing that this was grown on volcanic.
Right.
All right, finally, the length, the finish.
Oh my God. Say like medium. medium minus.
No, I'll call this
It
about
doesn't
medium
like
as well.
seem like super long.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not super long. It's not short. I would say this is about medium as well. Currently,
Yeah.
as it stands. But I will note that, like I mentioned, like the what I like about this the finish on this wine is that it's ever so evolving. It's like it starts with the fruit. I get a little bit of that
Yeah.
like that savoriness, whether it be spice or with the leaf or something. And then, but at the end is where I get all that kind of smoky black rock,
Yeah.
like it's just
Yeah.
like that, all that rockiness lingers around, which is to me very nice.
lingers a bit. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll call this about medium as well. So let's bring it home. How
Okay.
good is this wine? And would you age it?
Am I up, or do I get to pick
Yeah,
someone?
you're up.
Yep.
Bring it
I
home.
would say it's good. I think the quality is like good.
Yeah, right. This one is balanced. I don't think there's anything here that is
No.
super out of its place. Concentration, we called it medium on the nose, medium on the palate. Complexity wise, we call what? Some flour, black fruit, some rocks, maybe touch of savory.
Yeah.
Not much in secondary, tertiary, we're pretty much on the primary. So like not hugely complex. I'll say like lower end of medium, higher end of medium minus even. And then the length, we called it medium. So when you look at all of that, we're kind of landing in medium territory. So I would agree. I would say I agree. I would say this is good wine. Would you age this?
I think, I would definitely drink it now. And maybe some potential for aging given, but I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's drinking beautifully. I think this one is fresh right now. I think
Yeah.
fruit is there. The rocky minerality is expressing itself. I think it's delicious right now. I think it's drinking beautifully right now. Having said that, I do think given the tannin level, given some acid, right? We call it medium acid. We call it about medium tannin, medium to medium minus tannin. So there's some structural component here. Not meant to be aged for a long time. The only one thing that we were not squarely in medium, and then we're saying medium minus was essentially complexity. So by aging this, you get some different fruit characters coming in, get it to be a little more complex, give off a little more different characters of fruit. But I don't think it's meant to be aged for a long time.
Right. So you would say like 2 to 5 years versus like 5 to 10. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say drink it now, drink it over the next 2 to 3 years. It will probably start to kind of show some of its rot, given that it's not super high in tannin, it's not super high in acid. So it will start to show tertiary rather sooner than later. So hold on to it for 2 to 3 years just to see how it changes, and then see if you like it, and then hold it on to about 5. But in general, I say drink this now. It's not meant to be aged for a hugely long time. This is what I would say about this wine. Cool. Excellent. Well, for the first time back, you did all right.
And too bad.
Uh,
I definitely don't get the sweetness part. Like, you know what I mean? Like my whole palate is totally off. I mean, I get it about dry, but I don't know. I was
all good. Any questions? Sorry, also, Sara, how long were you out there for? I just realized it. Weren't you on there and then you got off?
We were only like a minute or two. We were a little late.
Oh yeah, no, also, yeah.
My Zoom crashed.
Oh, the other Sara, sorry.
Yeah. My Zoom crashed, and I thought I like gave up and started watching TV, and I thought I had signed out of this, but all of a sudden I heard your voices coming from there, and I was like, oh, oops.
I'm sorry. No, it's when I share the screen, I don't see the thing pop up where it's like somebody's waiting.
Yeah.
As soon as I got out of the screen, I saw it. So I'm gonna change that setting.
I got as far as the nose. What did you guys say? Very good.
Right.
Good. Where'd you
We
land?
called it good.
I said good.
Good.
We called it good.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any disagreements? Okay.
I definitely think like tasting the Santa Amor before, I like the Santa Amor. And maybe I just have to let this like, kind of sit overnight and drink it tomorrow when it's not so like compromised.
Yeah.
But the Centimore was really good.
Yeah. Very different style, completely
Yeah.
different wines. But yeah, and also like I would say two things. I think Centimore objectively is just a better quality wine than this one.
Yeah.
Call that
Yeah.
very good. We call this good.
Yeah.
But also stylistically, I mean, that's just a preference thing. But like
Right.
to me,
Yeah.
I just love that style of Beaujolais. Like that, carbonic, bright,
Yeah.
poppy,
Yeah.
red fruit driven, red berry driven.
Mhm.
I mean, not that this is not
Mhm.
not good, but it's just different stuff. Did you guys like this? What do you guys think about this? Okay, Dave says, yeah. Kyler, so.
Good
Yeah,
for what it
this is
is.
good.
I would
I'm
definitely
curious
lean
what it's like
right,
tomorrow.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's gonna open up a little. It does seem a little shy right now. I don't remember this wine being so shy. But also, I mean, if you make sure guys, whatever that means, I don't know about you guys' wine, but my wine has this 92-point sticker on it. So we call the 92-point wine good. So is that good or is that bad? I don't know. You think of whatever you want to think that. Think with
Great
that.
inflation.
What's that?
It's great inflation.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, also know in a 100-point score, rarely ever does any wine ever score under like 80 points.
Right.
Great inflation.
Yeah. But yeah.
Remember that.
Okay, let's play this game. Everybody's favorite game. How much do you think that wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? One of the smaller crews, called it good. This is their entry level. Very typical. Shows a lot of typicity for Julienas. We've obviously had better Julienas in the past, but I think this is, if you're trying to show somebody what Julienas tastes like, this is a good bottle for it. All right, 25, 30, 25, 20, 32, 21. Oh, well, you guys would be surprised, maybe, perhaps. This wine will be $20 on the retail shelf.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. For the price, I think this
Well, and I was so surprised, like Centimore was like so much more than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, it's like 38 or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. And especially in there where like everything's getting more expensive, talking about inflation, Beaujolais is no exception. And some of these guys are getting more expensive. And so to have a entry point cru Beaujolais at $20 a bottle, I'll say this is a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
I'd be happy paying $20 for this bottle. So there you have it. Any questions? Cool.
Relative to the other Julienas that you've had in the past Beauj boxes, like what do you think of like this relative to those?
This is definitely a younger vine that plays a role
Yeah.
in it, right? This is 40 years. Most of Julienas that we've had are like up in the 80 to 100 year vines. So there's less just concentration here. It's a lot more just kind of, again, entry point, youthful. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Every wine has its time and a place. But to me, this is just like very youthful, approachable, like pound it with a friend, sit in a bistro with a plate of, cured meats and cheese and just, shoot the shit and drink it kind of wine. But yeah, I mean, I like it just because, again, it is very, to me, when I reach for Juliana, like this is the kind of stuff that I'm, it checks all the boxes, right? The black fruit, the dark, smoky, black, like rockiness, right? There's a ripeness of the fruit. There's some tannin. Like all those things are what I want when I'm asking for or reaching for Julianas, and this wine kind of hits it all, but it's just all not as robust as some of the Julianas from older vine Julianas that we've had in the past. Any other questions? What has been, if you guys have been keeping up and tasting all the last four, Is there one that sticks out to you? Like that one was really fantastic. Or the other way around. It's like I fucking hated that bottle.
I think it was the second. What was the second one?
The Côte de Bourguignon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pinot Noir and
Yeah.
Gamay blend.
I had some friends over and we did the tasting together with the Côte de Bourguignon.
Yeah.
And that was like, and I later tasted the first one because I've just been all over the place with my schedule. And I really liked the second one a lot.
Yeah. The second one is delicious. I mean, just fun, delicious. Yeah, it's great.
It was super yummy. So I've been like concentrating everything to like 2 weeks, but yeah.
I don't know. Anyone else?
Super yummy.
Have you guys been keeping up? Is this a doomsday news cycle helping you guys drink more wine, or is it? Are you guys?
I would have to say that this is so lovelily distracting from everything else going on in the world that,
yeah. It's I forgot what this was like. So it's here we are. Here we are doing it again.
Yeah.
Some of us haven't had anything to drink since last Saturday.
Yeah. We did a recording at Dave T's place, Allison, Dave, and I. And let's just say watch the recording that's coming out next week.
That sounds great.
For which one? Next week?
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing the dry January. This is my first night back.
Woo!
As I was telling you, that was derecho January. So
Rich.
Yeah, the extra wet January that we had.